Hello, welcome to episode 6 of Instagram Live here at Manfredi Jewels. We are having the privilege today of being joined by Pierre Halimi, the general manager of FP Journe Americas, and we are waiting for him to join us. Should be here any moment. So one of the things we like to do when we start these Instagram lives are do a wrist check and see what's on everyone's wrist, right? And Pierre will be happy to show us, I'm sure, some fantastic FP Journe watch. I'm going to do a wrist check right now, and I don't have a watch. The reason I don't have a watch is that I don't have any FP Journe watches here in stock. So as probably you all know, there have been a huge demand for FP Journe watches. And we are going to talk about that hello there, Michael Tanney. Thank you for joining us. A little shout out there. So we are going to discuss that and many other topics that we have. And if you have any questions for Pierre, please put in the questions box and we will get to them toward the end of the hour that we will be spending with them. So, so please, here we go. And here we are. We're going to go with Pierre, waiting for them to join us and connecting. And there is the man we've all been waiting for. Welcome, Pierre.
Thank you, Robert. I've been waiting for myself too. So, how are you?
I'm well. I'm very well, and I'm really thrilled to have you here joining us today. This has been a long time coming. Let me adjust the camera here because you and I have been trying to connect to do this for quite some time, but we've both been very busy, and you've been busy with, running around the world, dealing with all of the many things that you do. We have a lot of things to cover, and we already have one question that somebody emailed us about. And I'm sure that we will have some questions that people will send us during the interview. So let's just get started. This is episode 6. You are the general manager of FP Journe Americas, and you're very well known in the Journe collector community. But for those of you who are not familiar, who are watching us, please tell us about your position and what it is exactly that you do.
It's a vast question. I'm the general manager of the FP Journe America, so I take care of this part of the world for François Paul. We created a joint venture back in 2009 when we opened the first boutique in the United States. But we've been working together since day one, and actually I met François Paul 12 years before we even started the company. So it's been a long journey.
Nice.
Excuse the pun. But regarding what you said, regarding questions, do ask questions, but don't be shy to ask, the questions that usually you're not supposed to ask any watch, company. Like how do we do prices? Do we have problems with repairs? Because a lot of people say, well, we never had a problem with repair. No, we do, but I'm more than happy to answer these kind of questions.
Great. So my understanding is that you grew up in this industry. You have a long history with us at Manfredi, but our owner, Roberto, he remembers how much he loved. You had a store that I believe was with your father at the Breakers Hotel in Miami. It was called Diamond Noir. So was this store your beginning with watches? Tell us a little bit about how you got into this.
Actually, I'm first generation, but my dad was a avid watch collector, but in a very eclectic way. I remember when he got me the first swatch and I told him, Dad, this thing reeks of plastic. It makes so much noise. I can sleep in the same room with it. This is for sure a disaster. So, Pierre, the visionary. So, I'm not always right, far from that. But also it was, I remember the first watch he gave me was the Seiko calculator. You had to go like this with your fingers, and I loved it. So you had all these kind of things all the way, not so much Patek, but he had Audemars Piguet, he had Vacheron. Patek, he was never too keen on this. I don't know why. Never asked him. So I did start the Diamond Noir Black Diamond actually on Worth Avenue, then at the Breakers. Mm-hmm. And that's why I went first time to the Basel Fair in 1987. Oh. And, I'm a good student, so they tell me it's 8 days. So I go 8 days, 10 to 6. I go 10 to 6. But after the first morning, the first Thursday morning, I always start on Thursday. By like probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I spend all my money. It goes so fast over there. I knocked on Rolex's door. They said, "Well, write us a letter. Maybe we'll see you next year." Okay, I started learning that it was not that easy, and then I started circling further away from like the entrance, and I ended up in a hall. I think it was 6.1. It was at the way back, and I got mesmerized by one watch. And then there's the gentleman that came next to me, pretty short gentleman, and he said, "Can I help you with anything?" I said, "Yes, but I was like, embarrassed." I said, "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "Well, why did you copy Corum?" And he insulted me. And I'm putting the French, but you're MF, whatever. What do you mean? I copied them. I made the watch for Corum. I said, I asked Corum. They said they made the movement, and that was the Golden Bridge. And Vincent Calabrese was the guy that created the Golden Bridge. They recognized him 30 years after he created the Golden Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started talking to him, and he was the general secretary of the AHCI. I don't know if he still is. And I started befriending a lot of the academy people, they were small, but they had so much passion. And then I'm invited for the annual dinner. They have one dinner a year, and I'm sitting next to Frank Muller. You had Philippe Dufour across from me. Some people you don't know, Jean Cazès, who else was there? Obviously, François Paul. And then we started, talking to each other. And I realized that there are two parts of this business. You have the money part, which is important, and you have the passion part, which is, for me, as if not more important than this. So that's in a nutshell where I started. And because I had a store and we were kind of small but very passionate, and I had Tourneau that came by, I had to go really out of the beaten path. If we used to do just like what everybody was doing, it was just a matter of like pricing, and wasn't interesting for me. Mm-hmm. So I decided to do a lot of the academy, a lot of unknown brands, and that was fun. It's still fun.
Yeah. Well, I agree, and that's one of the things that Roberto, who founded Manfredi, has done from the beginning, and that's still to this day. When we go to Basel, that's someplace that we spend a good amount of time. The little tiny part of the fair is the academy, and it's great because there's maybe from each watchmaker, there's maybe 3 watches, maybe 3 to 5, and the guys are just standing around the guy whose name is on the watch. And you can chat with them and talk about their history and their creations, and that's really where innovation is coming from. And it's really fun to see the next generation, and also guys like Vincent Calabrese, who is still there, and he's still showing his watches. He's still making watches. So I mean, it's really fun, and it's great to hear that you saw that from the beginning. That was a great avenue to go down. But again, it's born of passion. Those aren't big money things. If you're lucky with these guys, you get 1 or 2 watches a year, or whatever. It's
exactly. I mean, when we talk about the company FP Journe, I always ask collectors, say, "Why do you think watch companies make watches?" Like the trick question, and people go like, "Well, exactly." Well, I said maybe to make money. Oh, but of course, it is to make money. Well, not for everyone. You're not going to talk to Philippe Dufour and say, "Are you doing this for the money?" Because he's not. You're not going to ask François Paul, "Are you doing this for the money?" Because he's not. As much as we say we are interested in your money, we need your money. What are we going to do with the money? This is when we open the discussion, because it's unheard of for a group like us. It's a very, 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 very tiny group producing less than 900 watches a year, mechanical watches, that we have the machine to do 95% of the components, give or take the watch. We do our dies, we do our cases, we do our bands, we do our buckles. I mean, you have to go to the Swatch group or the Richemont group to have, on a much, much, much bigger scale, that integration. And we have boutiques around the world. So in order to do this, you have to be smart, and you have to be very savvy, and also never distribute dividends. Basically, that's the recipe. So we collect, and then we spend the money where we need to. So that's the idea. And I can justify, I just want to emphasize the goal is not the money. It's not the essence of the company. Mm-hmm. For example, when François Paul decided in 2004 that he would invest, at that time it was about 5 million Swiss francs. I think it was $4 million at that time. The exchange rate changed, obviously. to buy machines to do the components in-house. Before, they had to be subcontracted out. We didn't have the money, we didn't have the space, we didn't have anything. So how many more watches do you think we made in 2005 compared to 2004, when we had now all the machines to do 95% of the components?
Four more?
Four more. It's not 4,000, it's not 400, it's four more.
Four.
And then I asked François Paul, I said, back in 2005, I said, François Paul, I mean, as an investment, it's $1 million a quarter each. I mean, I don't think that's a great investment. And he went like this with his finger, dug his finger in my rib, said, this is so I can be independent and I can go to all the suppliers that give me shit. Now, if there's a problem, it comes from me and I will fix it. I cannot blame somebody else.
Yeah.
And that was the key thing. But it was not for the money. Even when we did the Grand Sonnery, the person that used to do that for us was making so many more tourbillons than what he could do in the output in Grand Sonneries. Mm-hmm. So I asked François, so why are we doing this? Financially, it's not good. And François said, because I want to.
Yeah.
End of discussion. But it's surprising, but it works like this with Journe.
Yeah, no, I mean, and to tag on to that, sort of doing things the right way and integrating everything. I had the privilege of coming to a training in Geneva, spending time with, the whole team in Geneva and touring the different sites of manufacturing. But one of the things that struck me as really fantastic is in the Maison in downtown Geneva. And that building, my understanding is that because it is in downtown Geneva, it's on a main road and there's trucks and cars going by. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they do something with the foundation of that building to make it vibration proof so that they could make the watches properly there? Is that something that
I'm sure there's an issue about vibration, but I know they spend a lot of money on the basement because you had to reinforce the whole structure also, because then we were bringing heavy machinery and not just in the basement. So we had to reconfigure this. And the fact, we're the only watch company still, in Geneva. I'm talking of a certain, with certain production, not talking the guy that makes 2 watches a year. That's not a manufacturer.
Right.
So, but we still have a plan that to build 2 more stories on top of we had the permit at one time, but we don't have the money yet. So that's why we need to sell more watches so we can get more watches and more money so we can do what we want. And François Paul, wanted to do a school. Like kind of like, if I may say, like a PhD. After you've done your watchmaking school, come here, and then maybe not a lot of people, but there you'll be able to do your own prototypes because we have the machinery for this. Why is it important to have your own machinery? That was really for the Grand Sonnery. If you do a watch like the Grand Sonnery, there's a lot of trial and error, especially on the Grand Sonnery because of the sound system. So you have to change parts. So now you're going to call your contractor, the guy makes parts, and say, hello, can I have 5 more parts so I can test it?
Right.
You might do it once or twice because you like the guy. You're not going to stop all of your production every time the guy wants, 1 part to test it. Mm-hmm. Here, it's been much easier because he's been able to test and change and modify. 6 p.m., set the machine. In the morning, you have the parts when you come in, you can test. Without this, there's no Grand Sonnery, there's no centigraph, there's no optimum. It would be much more complicated for us.
Right. Amazing. So getting back to a little bit about your history, I know that you were a distributor for other brands before Journe, including Bell & Ross, Techno Marine, and others. So you sort of cut your teeth in the industry distributing other brands. But how did you come to know FP Journe and create this partnership that led you to becoming his agent in the U.S. and then eventually a partner?
Well, because I knew him 12 years before we created the company. Back in '99, I already had established some distribution with Bell & Ross, as you mentioned. Technomarine was in 2000, and I was, the vice president worldwide for this. So it was interesting for me because I had the experience of a salesperson behind the counter, being a distributor, and also being a brand. And based in Miami, it would be very difficult for me to achieve this if I'm not moving to Geneva. So I had the experience of Technomarine, which was a great experience. Definitely a different kind of product than Journe, to say the least, but very, very high in demand at that time. Was absolutely crazy. So I had all these experiences that were interesting. And then back in '99, François Paul told me, "Are you ready?" I said, "Well, only have to sell them. You have to make them. That's maybe more complicated." I said, "I'm ready." I said, okay, what's the plan? Can you open 5 retail stores in America? I said, yes, but why 5? Because I got 5 watches. I said, you have 5 SKUs. So, no, I mean 5 models, maybe. Pierre, you don't speak French anymore? I have 5 watches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We started with 5 watches. It was the Tourbillon, platinum yellow dial, $59,000. You know, we wish we had bought a few more at a time, but and that's how we started. And on a handshake, there was no, you go for it. And we finalized the paper 10 years after. And we started and finalized the papers 10 years after, when we invested some money for the distribution and also the boutiques. We decided to sort of like solidify the friendship.
Wow, oh, that's fantastic, because it's great to hear about those early days, because anybody who looking back on it now, with this incredible success that is happening right now, you look like this big genius, but given this incredible success, it's taken obviously many years and a lot of hard work to bring the brand up to this point. So you told us a little bit about those early days, and then maybe tell us about some of the highlights along the way of growing the brand, because it's a very interesting story. And we know it now, but even me being in this selling Journe here at Manfredi for the past 14 years, I constantly tell clients, I said, we used to have Chronomet Blue sit in the case. It would sit and then it would sell and we'd get another one. It wasn't this crazy thing that is unobtainable. And I remember the early days too, back where back before everything was super social media, text, emails here and there, but there would be an email of, if I remember, when your sister was working with the brand, and my predecessor would, he would get an email saying, I got these in, and the minute he saw that the email was in the inbox for Journe, he would start dialing the number before he even opened the email to make sure that he got on the phone to get whatever it was that he could get. So even though then he knew, because there was limited production, but tell us a little bit about sort of the history and the trajectory of the brand.
Well, just to go back because you mentioned that in your question, you just briefly mentioned this.
Yeah.
I look like a genius. I discovered Journe. Well,
right.
I wish I could say, it happened this way, but it didn't. I really fell in love with the guy's passion. He had really a vision. And when people talk about, and when we have to define the word independence, you really have to ask, what do they have in their guts? What are they going to do 10 years from now? What is their raison d'être? François Paul, it took us quite a while, but when his mind was very clear, his inspiration is what he calls the scientific watch. So the non-nonsense watch, meaning, you're not going to have a quadruple tourbillon that looks like the Excalibur or whatever. It just doesn't understand. He says, it's pretty objects if you want, but they're not a watch the way he intends, to do watches. And those are the Breguet, the Lépine from the, 1800s. And these guys were doing, if I may use Breitling's slogan, instruments for professionals. It was important to be able to tell time.
Yeah.
It was an essential function. Today, obviously, it's not the same, but when George Daniels came back, in 68 or 69 with the Outer Breguet and the Tourbillon, and he started the vein again of the scientific watch, even though it wasn't that important, but that was interesting for him to do this. Same with François Paul. François Paul, everything that he does has a logic and a reason. And then when he makes an exception, it's called the vagabondage. The vagabondage means I went outside of the beaten path. I wanted to have fun with a kind of a movement that I did a long time ago, but it is not accurate. Therefore, you won't have my name on the dial because it's not a true Journe.
Wow.
I mean, talking about reverse marketing, that was key. And that was back in 2005, and we were sold out the minute we talked about it.
Yeah.
So, but it's very important when you look. I worked with other companies where the bottom line was the only thing that was important. With François Paul, and now 21 years of been working together, never has he asked me to sell more watches, ever.
Wow.
He always asks me, can you sell it in a better way? Can you explain better? Can you find a collector that you're going to resonate with in a better way? And then we're talking a lot, about COVID and how do we adapt to this on the retail world, which is not easy. But one of the major factor is emotion. If you buy a watch as a commodity, either to flip it or whatever, make it your business and make it official, that's fine. I'm not going to dispute this. But if you make it as a passion, be passionate. When people ask me, or should I buy this watch because do you think it would appreciate in value?
Oh.
What kind of stupid question that is? If I was sure I would keep it for myself and make all the money, why would I give it to you?
Right. It's the same situation with us too. The clients, well, what do you think this is going to be worth? I said, I don't know. But if you think I knew that, then every Chronomètre Bleu that we received back in the day, they'd still be sitting in my safe right now. And now I would sell them for huge profits, you know?
But the logic of the investment in watches, look, if you want to make sure that when you buy a watch, it doesn't lose 80% of its value the minute you put it on your wrist, I understand this. But to invest in this saying, I'm going to make a return, for me, you lose the passion. So this, you have a website, you can do it. And if we were able to do everything on website, I would close all the boutiques. I would fire every salesperson that we have in the company, including myself, and say, click and buy. But this is not the fun part for us. Even now, even during COVID, when we do not know someone and the person orders a watch, we deliver it. We don't ship it. We deliver it. Well, we don't have thousands of watches, otherwise it would be complicated.
Right.
Being small really helps also like this, but then you make a connection. You go to the person's place and you have a real discussion. I'm happy because I share my passion.
Yeah.
So talking about the highlights, I think the most important thing was when François Paul started acquiring the dial maker. That was earlier than basically it should, and it was difficult to get even the money for that. But then he really started building what I call his toolbox. For François Paul now, he has the dial maker, the case maker, and the machining tool components. He has all the toolbox to do whatever he wants. And when you look at the company, if we talk about marketing, let's talk about marketing a little bit. Usually in marketing, in business schools, what I learned was, you have to be consumer-centric. What do you, Bob, want to see on your wrist? Well, not François Paul. François Paul doesn't really care what you want on your wrist. What do I care? What do I wear on my wrist? But what's important for him is to make the watches that he likes. And he said in a very humble way, he says, I make the watches that I, François Paul, like. And I'm lucky that some collectors like what I do. But even if they will not like what I do, I will still do what I like. And humbly, because that's the only thing I know how to do. Don't ask me to do a Richard Mille-esque watch. I have no idea what that is. I don't understand. It's not a watch for me. It's very pretty, no problem. But it's not what I'm interested in. So that's it's an important factor for this. So really to have that kind of a direction.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. So that brings us to today, on the heels of an incredible recent auction results, numerous incredible results. And we have now a demand that is severely outpacing the supply. For example, us here at Manfredi, I have this many watches in our case.
You said one on your questions from 2 weeks ago. So see, you said one here on the questions that you sent.
Yeah, I know. You're looking at the questions that I sent you. It's true. So I have no watches in the case. I am completely sold out of anything else that I am set to receive the rest of the year. And I would say about 3/4 of our allocation for 2021 are pre-sold with deposits. So this is a fantastic free business, but it's also a major challenge as a retailer. We hate telling people no. It's upsetting, so tell us the reality of the situation. We want to know what's going on here.
Well, let's analyze why first we are in that situation. The auction is the end of a long work. I mean, François Paul has been working for longer than 21 years. 21 years is when the company got created, but the guy had to leave before, so he had to survive. He had to do watches or movements for other people in order to survive. So he's been working for more than 30 years. I mean, we have a book called The First 30 Years, and that was like 5 years ago, so figures about 35 years. But the great thing about François Paul is his integrity. And because he has a sense of the watchmaking history, he never screws a collector, ever. And let me give you a few examples. When we have a limited edition, it's limited. And because he's a watchmaker, he doesn't think about, oh, the hand is going to be different next year, or the band is going to be now yellow instead of being orange, or whatever. No, he's talking about the movement. And the case in hand, when we came out with the purple calendar, we had a lot of issues when it came out. The issue that we have, it's very complex because there's a jump for 4 discs, so a lot of weight, that takes place in 1/16,000th of a second. So like, this is so slow compared to what happened. I try to look at it when it jumps, you can't see it. It's beyond where we can perceive. So before we used to have another one called the Octa Perpetuel, which was also a perpetual calendar, but based on the calendrier that we made before. And we made limited edition, 99 pieces, plus 00 that says in the company. We always have 00 in the company, but we sell 99, we produce 100. So we decided to have about 200 QPs on order when we do our show in January, and that we thought it would be good for 2 years of production. After 2 years, we probably have received like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I remember.
Maybe at least, let's say half a dozen to be very, very large. And I remember I was on the train from Geneva to Paris with François Paul, and I said, François Paul, tell me something. You're not capable of doing a QP anymore? Honestly, between friends, because I have a lot of things riding on you. If you can't do a QP anymore, the future is going to be bleak. Of course, he insulted me, and he showed me the video. And then the problem that he had was the angle of attack for that jump. But the problem, because you can't see it, he had to buy this camera to do like 4,000 frames a second so he can see what happened. And then he fixed it, and then it came out. But any other company, after 2 or 3 years, we had the order, we would say, take the movement from the old one, change the case, change the dial, voila.
Yeah.
Not François Paul. When we do the patrimony, and I'm very proud to say that we are the first company that have done a certified pre-owned company, he has all the components to redo any watch he wants. But he doesn't. As soon as he says it's over, I don't produce anymore, it's over. So that's what we have to buy now at a much higher price than we obviously sold or even can manufacture, to offer to our collectors that are newer to us. If you started knowing Journe 2 years ago, you don't know about the brass movement, you don't know about a lot of the different things. So first you have all this work for 30 years, him be considered the best watchmaker alive. I think it's difficult to say that this is not. Maybe Philippe Dufour would be in the same category, probably, but it's very, very small production. So you have all this, then you have, for the past year and a half, you had some merchants, like you, like us, like everybody else, say, oh, wow, we start buying the old ones. And then the prices started going up very steadily. We have secondary market that really went heavy into it. But that was still a macrocosm. We were still interested because we were listening or looking at Journe, and then we see the Premier Bleu going up and up. And then, obviously, at the Philips auction this summer, it exploded. But now it was obvious to everyone. It wasn't just the Journe aficionado, but the guy that collects Rolex, Patek, or whatever said, what the heck is this? And the amount of phone calls that we received after that from people that we had no idea who they were. Yeah. But having that many watches in the collection, say, okay, I've got to start. Let's start the collection. And this is when we had the issues about not being able to deliver.
Right.
So it's a success. It's then to answer another question you asked after, say, do we have plans to raise production? Valid question.
Yeah.
So what people don't understand, people think it's a marketing ploy from us to say, oh, we're going to make 800 to 900 watches a year. It's not. It's basically you take the number of watchmakers, the calibers that they can make, how many hours they're going to work in a year, and how many hours it takes to do that caliber equals the output. Now, if we make only chronomètre souverain, which is something that we've done since 2005, which is not as complicated as some of the other ones, more complicated than you can imagine, but yet simpler than the other ones, maybe we make 1,600 a year. If we only make the astronomic, maybe if we have the talent, we don't have the talent to do this, maybe we make 30 a year. So it's basically the average between 30 and 1,600, give or take.
Right.
So it's not a decision for us. And the fact that in order to increase production substantially, we will have to do like the other guys, and I'm not saying it's wrong, where basically, let's say at Patek Philippe, you would do a certain part, somebody else would do a certain part, and we will be the foremost expert in the world on that particular part. François Paul has to do one watchmaker. The issue is it's a detriment to the production, to the output. But it's a watchmaker, so it's going to go like this. And again, I'm not saying Patek Philippe is wrong doing this. This is not a judgment. This is a sort of a principle that François Paul has. And finally, he's always said, but since, as long as I remember him, he said, I'm living a dream right now. What do you want me to live a nightmare? I'm okay with what we're making money. We're profitable. We can invest. We can invest in new machines. Hopefully, the 2 next floors that we will have on the manufacturer. We're trying to buy a building to host the case maker and the dial maker. It takes money. So we're happy this way. So there are no plans to increase production.
Right. And talk about Chronomètre Bleu, because the story that I like to tell, we get obviously more inquiries about that watch than any other watch that FP Journe makes. We, as an authorized retailer, as do the other authorized retailers in the world, as far as I know, only receive 1 watch per year. But I believe you've told me that you have, in 3 boutiques that exist here in the United States, that you have over 700 people waiting for that watch. And
we stopped counting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just the most in-demand watch. And so, what do you, I mean, that's what I tell you tell the clients the reality, right? I mean.
There are reasons. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on the Chronomètre Bleu. But what we're trying to do also is, if somebody, how do you get a Chronomètre Bleu? That's the question. So you would have to be understanding what basically we're going to interview you. When somebody asks me, can I have a Chronomètre Bleu? My first answer is a question. Why? What do you want a Chronomètre Bleu? You realize that some people have no idea what they're looking at. It's because it's been hyped that they want this one. So, or because it's blue. Well, okay, we have all the watches that are blue. If they can't justify, these guys are never going to make on any list whatsoever, which we don't even have anymore. But we want to make sure that they go to collectors. Remember, we're not about sales. We are here to make collectors. Our philosophy and mentality is totally different. We're trying to help you build a collection and curate it. So if I think the watch is not good for you, I'm going to tell you, it's your money, you decide. But if you ask my advice, I'm always going to give you my advice. And so all my sales team, if you ask our advice, we're going to give it to you. It's your money, it's your risk, it's your problem. So we don't have this. But the Chronomètre Bleu, we go back to marketing. So the Chronomètre Bleu is the anti-crisis watch. Came out in 2009 for obvious reasons. So usually, I mean, I learned that in my business school that when you do an entry line, you're trying to do, an entry line means you try to appeal to the maximum people, the amount of people. So you make it round because most watches are round. That checked. It is round. We're good on this one. You make it in a metal that's easy to reproduce. We have a first issue. Tantalum is not easy to
Not
reproduce.
easy at all.
So when we asked our case maker, I asked you kind of an idea, because I don't know how it works. I said, look, Pierre, if gold is difficult to the level of 100, platinum would be 200. Tantalum would be 600.
Wow.
You had to redo the toolings, when you stand, when you between every 17 times. So every 17 cases, whether they're good or not, you had to redo the tooling because the tantalum is a bitch to work with, to say the least.
Yeah.
So already we have an issue with the metal. And then he came out with the blue dial, what we call the blue chrome dial. So I always make this little experience, and I'm going to do this. Okay, so let's see. What do you see? What do you see here?
See a nice dot.
Okay. Basically, it's the wrong answer. It's a white piece of paper with a black dot. But everybody here knows that if you give your wife a nice diamond and she knows where the inclusion is, might as well throw the diamond away. The human eye goes to the imperfection.
Yes.
And this is typical François Paul. And one of our things that we mention a lot, simplicity is more complex. François Paul would like to do watches with less parts. If you could do it with 0 part, that would be the grail. Obviously, it's not possible. But always minimize, not add.
Right.
Adding is detrimental to the friction, to the wear and tear. And on the dial, any imperfection goes away. It has to be recycled. We still have 65% reject on that dial. At one time, we had 95% reject, meaning you order 100 dials, you have 5 coming. Wow. If we didn't own the dial maker, who's gonna do it for us? Say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, now it's a little bit different, but not much. The way we do prices, might as well talk about prices now. We have one price worldwide, based in Swiss francs. Whether you go to Geneva, Hong Kong, New York, we have a list of prices that is, in Swiss francs. Now, of course, we convert into dollars, and that changes, obviously every second. But we have to have sort of a standard.
Right.
So first, we're the only company to have one price worldwide. But then, if you look at our prices, François calculates. It has a margin, a profit margin on the case, a profit margin on the dial, and a profit margin on the movement. And at the end, he has the three. Voila, this is your price. So that's why whether you buy a tourbillon from us at 200 and whatever, 50,000, if you want to buy the gold version, it's 3,000 Swiss francs less. Whether it's a tourbillon or a chronomètre Journe. Whether it's 30,000 or 250,000, the difference is this. There's no reason why the case should be more expensive because all of a sudden it hosts a different movement. Unless it's super complicated, with a lot of pushers and everything, but we don't do a lot of pushers. We like minimalistic. So when you have this, that's the way we are. That's how we work. So it's much easier for us. And then when we calculate the price, except the black label, which is boutique only when you have a black dial on a platinum, and we tell our collectors it's arbitrarily more expensive than the regular dial, even if it costs the same. But we have to make a marketing difference on that one to be a little bit more painful. Otherwise, you only want that one, and it doesn't work because we're limited in the amount of watches we can receive. Like it's 2 per model per year, so we're not going to go too far on this. So the idea was, except on this, it's cost to retail. On the chronomètre bleu, he was not making a margin on the case, and he was not making a margin on the dial.
Right.
The chronomètre bleu is interesting because if you had to make one and make the regular margin as on other ones, forget about the watchmakers, we have very low margins, it would be considerably more money than what it is now. Because of difficulty of the dial and in the case. The movement is easier for François Paul. So that's the chronomètre bleu in a nutshell.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think that cleared up a lot, but it's not going to change the fact that we are still going to get a lot of inquiries and people asking when they can get one. But obviously this year has been a challenge because we have the COVID situation and there was, I'm sure, some shutdown. So how many watches will actually be manufactured this year, and how much of a production reduction do we have? Because that's another thing that has to be part of the conversation when people are because I know for ourselves, we had a set allocation and then it was cut because of that. So can you speak a little bit about that? Explain.
We all got cut, but we got cut especially on the quantity of production. So mainly chronomètre bleu. We're supposed to make another year. I think we delivered 26 so far.
So you said you're supposed to make 100. So the plans are in a usual year that you will produce 100 chronomètre bleu per year.
Yeah, I think last year we did 102 because remember when we told you numbers, it's the production, it's not the sales. It's possible that we have a watch in inventory December 31st and you sell it January 1st.
Yeah.
But we're only talking about production. So we produced 102. This year we delivered 26. It's a disaster. The same with the chronomètre Journe. We were behind because it needs quantity. Remember, as much as the manufacturer did not really got affected, the movement manufacturer by COVID, the dial maker and the case maker were a little bit more disturbed. Remember, a lot of people are working in France. Live in France and cross the border in Geneva. Well, in France, basically, it was blocked. You couldn't even get out of your home, or your kids couldn't go to school. So what do? Now you're making a dial to do it from home. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
So that's so everything with quantity has been pushed a little bit to next year. The rest. Well, on the new resonance, when we placed the orders, we knew that we would not be able to get everything that we wanted. And same with the new perpetual calendar dial, we knew that we would not be able to do this. But that's normal. That on a new model, we don't have. We were forecasting this.
Right.
So the production
I
think quantity is going to be lower.
Right. So do you have a guess? Because in an average year, you're making from anywhere 600, 700, 800 watches. It hasn't been 800 in quite a while. But what do you think that total production for this year is going to be? Do you have any idea?
If I have to guesstimate, I would say maybe 100, 150 watches less.
100,
I mean,
150
it's
watches.
possible. It's possible that they work harder, but it's tough also in Switzerland. You can't really do overtime. I mean, it's not America. It's well, in China we work the 3/8, 24 hours,
Right.
7 days a week. So, but let's see. Right now, I don't have the information. I know that some of my orders, which are all your orders also, have been pushed. So I know we have,
Right.
and we need them. We obviously need
Yeah.
them. They know. They know.
All right. Well, that's good to know. It's actually a better situation than I thought, because 150 less, but still, I mean, it's a very small amount when you're talking worldwide in the demand. And if you were going to make maybe 700, now you're making 550, 500 watches for the whole year. That's still a very minuscule amount considering the demand. And now we start talking about the great success of the Elegant. For those who don't know, it's a special quartz watch that was introduced. What is it, about 4 years that it's been around, the Elegant?
Yeah, a bit more.
And there he is. That's a very that's the Tita ladies version with a nice bright pink strap. So tell us a little bit about this watch, that for those who are watching who might not know, just a brief synopsis.
So it's an electromechanical. Some people would call it quartz, which is fine. And when François Paul came out with this, at first it was in the making years before it came out. I mean, François Paul spent so much money on R&D on this one, it was insane. So he decided that François Paul wants to bring a little more a break in the foundation of the watchmaking history. So he wants to always add something. If he's to do something that other people did, so what's the point? What would I do exactly what I did last year, or what somebody else did before me? So I need to do something different. So either you increase the accuracy of the quartz, but then it's not really more accurate than accurate doesn't make sense. What you can do is increase the longevity of the battery. Okay, how would you do this? So basically this watch, when it lays dormant for more than 30 minutes, it dies. It stops. But there's internal memory, and you have here at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Here you have a motion detector. So when you move, it sort of goes like this, a switch, and the watch goes back to time, to the actual time. But that's the easy part. But if the watch is at 12, but the time is actually 11:59, if it would turn 11 hours and 59 minutes, you consume a lot of energy. In that case, goes backwards. So it chooses the closest path to the real time.
Nice.
And that's the complexity. Then you have another issue. We show it. We show the movement. We don't hide the fact that it's here. You can see it.
Right.
But because François Paul for taste doesn't like yellow gold, and usually the circuit board are plated in yellow gold. So he said, no, we have to do rose gold. But that's not possible. But I want rose gold. It's not possible. And it goes on. It is possible. You're going to do it. The problem with the copper, it created interferences. The watch would stop, go backwards, go like this. I mean, like the crazy hour from Frank Miller, the quartz version. So it took a long time to develop. And it is difficult to produce because, one, the movement needs to be reliable, obviously. Second, we show the movement. So if it's not visually perfect, we have to throw it away or recycle it, throw it away. The other guys, they cover it. So if we have a little minor scratch somewhere, what do you care? So we have a visual QC and a technical QC that limits tremendously the amount of watches that come out. So we're hoping to make 500 next year. We like this.
Right. And for those of you, we were talking about production numbers. Be aware that when we talk about production numbers with Journe, we were talking about mechanical watches. Elegant is not counted as part of that. But of course, it's
a different department. Yeah, it's a different department.
Right. So. Exactly. But the demand for this watch has been incredible, and I am sold out through 2022 at this point.
What I like about this, first, François Paul doesn't deny the quartz. They said, look, if Breguet could have invented quartz in 1800, he would have done so. So it's an amazing invention. It cost millions and millions of dollars when Bell, and all these guys tried to do it. Then the Japanese came and found a very cheap way to do it. And obviously that was the big crisis in Switzerland. But he said, I have to recognize it is part of the history of watches. you can't say it doesn't exist. It would be a lie. So, but when I show this watch and I go into the depth of it, you even have two microprocessors, one for the seconds, one for the minute. Usually on the electromechanical watch, you have gears coming from the second to the minute. Gears equals friction. Friction equals loss of energy. You put two microprocessors. There's no connection between the two. So when I compare the philosophy of the elegant to the philosophy of the optimum, and if it's called the optimum, there's a reason why François Paul called it the optimum. He did not call it the minimum. It's called the optimum for obvious reasons. I can link the two together, sort of a big loop, because it's fighting for the same problem: friction, friction, friction. That's the elegant.
Right. Nice. So yeah, it's really a very, very cool watch, easy to wear, super light in titanium. And so obviously we hope that we get that movement issue fixed, not issue, but I'm saying in terms of the quality control and to ramp up that production, because we have a lot of clients waiting for the watch. So I do have a couple more questions that we did, but I do want to get to some of the questions that people are asking, and we only have about 14 minutes left. So I'm going to get one that I received by email today. We can get into, and this is from Rick, and he said he owns 5 FP Journes, and he's always interested in adding more. My question relates to the backlog of new watches. I'm hearing that ADs and boutiques aren't accepting orders for certain models. I'm not referring to the Chronomet Blue. And that orders for other pieces could be 12 to 24 months out. Besides Chronomet Blue, could Pierre provide insight into wait periods for things like New QP, Line Sport, and Elegant? So I'll give you that, but from my prospect as a retailer, wait period is really, we have an allocation. So Pierre and I sit together, and we did it earlier this year on what our allocation is, what we want to order for 2021, and you can only have, as a retailer, 4 Chronomet Souverains. Well, I have deposits on all of them for 2021. We haven't done 2022 yet. And then there are some watches where he hopes to be able to provide, but he's very clear with me saying, this is on your list, but it's in a column that I might not be able to deliver it. And these are the ones that you're guaranteed. So in terms of pieces being 12 to 24 months out, it's not that they're not producing them, it's that they're already pre-sold. So it's kind of like getting in the queue. That's the way I see it. Pierre, you probably have a similar answer as far as with your boutiques and how we're dealing with this, right?
Yeah, I mean, right now, there are very few references where we're not already sold out for this year or close to be sold out in 2021. But the idea, I'm going back to the people asking me, we like a Chronomet Bleu. The first question is why? You know, then you can understand. Maybe you can say, well, maybe it's not exactly the watch you're looking for, or maybe you're not really a watch collector, so don't worry about this. We can't supply everyone. The fact,
Right.
You know, we're not even trying because we don't have the capacity to do this. So I think the way to do it is talk to you, talk to the boutiques, talk to other collectors, go to Watch Pro site. You know, you can source things right now. The issue that a lot of people have, and I just did a survey yesterday on Chrono 24. I think we had 3 references of pre-owned watches that were under retail. And I don't know the shape, I don't know if they have the boxes, I don't know if they're working. So only 3 watches, it was 2 or 3 watches. So look, François Paul summed it pretty well back in July. He said, look, now we're successful. Now we have to manage the success. It's a different business because we can screw it up very easily also.
True.
You don't want to go like this and then go like that. We do not like prices going like this because we think it's too fast, too soon. We like to go step by step by step by step. What I love in a company like Hermes, in terms of abundance, they go up like this. In terms of crisis, they go up like this. They always go up like this because they build. And unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, obviously this is not François Paul's thing, we do not subcontract things out. We're not going to tell you, okay, well, I need 500 of this, I'll talk to you in 3 months. It doesn't work this way.
Right.
Everything is in-house, except the crystal, some of the bands. Well, so there's no plan to increase production. I think you're doing a good job by determining who needs to have one. It's always difficult because you have to make choices and you're not going to make everybody happy. It's just not possible.
True.
So you're going to make unhappy people.
Yeah, and it's hard because we're in the happiness business. I hate saying no to people. It's frustrating. All right, we have other questions here. Let's see, I love what you said about people not knowing how to justify what they're after.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, perfect.
Yep, so that's great. And then Zach is asking, how did the recent partial acquisition by Chanel shape the face and future of Journe?
Okay.
That is a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's go backwards. I sort of push the subject too fast. You're going to call FP Journe an independent, but technically it doesn't mean anything, because I know other companies, Patek, Rolex, Chopard, Breitling, Audemars Piguet, and many other ones, they're also independent. So we try to come up with another term called, we said indies, because it feels like smaller, so that's what we want to mean. I understand what you mean when we talk about independence. But again, it doesn't mean anything, because just say at one point, are you an indie or an independent? François Paul summed it up in a different way. It's not as nice marketing-wise, it's not a catchy name, but it's a reality. You have people that are in watchmaking, and you have watchmakers. That's the big difference. And François Paul is very honest about this. The day is not here anymore. Maybe FP Journe turns into watchmaking. Unless they find really like another Christian Dior or Gucci, like Tom Ford, to really recreate something and really go back into watchmaker. But the other companies, I mean, François Paul is the only company with certain volume where he's the one that is the president, the founder, and the watchmaker. So when he talks about making a new watch, he talks to himself. There's no marketing, so we have to do triangle watches. It doesn't even connect with that thing.
Right.
So as I said, it's not consumer-centric. It's like ego-centric. Not in terms of like a big ego, but like it's his vision of watches. So when Chanel acquired 20% of the company, some people say, now you're not independent anymore. I said, well, because François Paul never has two partners since 1999. One is still working in the company. His name is Philippe. There's another one by the name of Gino, who is a retailer in Belgium. So he was never 100% owner. And by the way, I'm his partner in this part of the world. So, and then I explained to people, I said, independence, what does it mean for you? For us, it means freedom. If you are independent and you're poor, let's say a watchmaker and you're poor, well, you might make some mistakes because you need to survive. Today, we thanks to Chanel and the big collectors of Journe, they became friends. So it's not like two corporations, two like families, if you want, that merge the efforts together. If we have a problem, it's not a big problem. If tomorrow we have to replace François Paul because he doesn't want to work anymore, I doubt it. I think François Paul will die on the bench. I think that'll be what he wants. But if he decides not to work anymore, there's no panic anymore. We have time to react, which I think is very important. That gives us more independence than we had before. So if we call independence as freedom, no, the rest. And when people say, "Oh, great, you're independent," I say, well, since when independence is a quality label? I mean, I can tell you of independents that are shitty watchmakers, and I know some groups that make actually very nice watches. So it's not a quality label.
No, that's very valid, and it makes total sense. So we've got about 7 minutes left. So some more of my questions. Do you have any hints that you can give to us about new watches that are in the works? Anything, a little tidbit.
Yes, scientific watches. So you're not going to see François Paul unless he does another Vagabondage series, or maybe won't be Vagabondage, will be another out of the beaten path. If he finds the right idea and he wants to have fun. Basically, there was a fun exercise for him. Right now, the Vagabondage 3 closes the trilogy. There's no more jumping that you can do. The rest is going to be always scientific. Everything that has to do with lack of friction or minimizing the friction, minimizing the lubricants. There are no lubricants in the escapement part of the Climate Optimum without using silicone or silicium. Silicium was a big debate and very good marketing-wise, but François Paul always said it's a good question, it's the wrong answer. Because the day the silicone it breaks, and if I go like this, I might break it. Today you can have a different part, but not in 50 years, not in 100 years. So these watches will end up in the garbage. And François Paul doesn't do this. He has too much respect, for watchmaking to do watches that will end up in the garbage.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's great. So, and I think we've touched on this. One of my other questions was your advice for prospective Journe buyers out there who want new watches but can't find them or on waiting lists. Again, I think asking yourself, going back to the question, why do you want to buy the watch? Buy what you love, and then, if you want it,
what really pays for us is passion. Mm-hmm. We're very passionate about what we do. So yes. If we have someone that is going to talk about appreciation or whatever, we're going to have a very difficult discussion. We really don't want passionate people. Look, we're having a good time. We want to share the good time and the passion. Even when we talk about prices, we've decided back in June that we're not going to even give the 3% we used to give if you don't pay by credit card. But I think it's brilliant, because then I talked to a collector. I said, look, there's absolutely no discussion about the price. So now if you want to talk about the watch, we have plenty of time. If you want to talk about the price, it's the end of the discussion right now. So it is the thing, especially when we try to say, look, if I tell you that my common optimum is 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, what do you know about prices? It's just a figment of imagination. It's like, how much discount can you get out of a watch? Well, look, we sold out, so what else can you get?
Right.
That's the thing. But then it really focuses on the watch. If you're interested in other things, we're not for you, which is okay. We're not going to be for everyone. Producing another watches, we're not going to be everywhere. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I think my last question, we're just going to wrap up. Obviously, you've been in this industry a long time. You must have quite a collection. Obviously, you have some amazing Journes, one on your wrist. I've seen numerous ones over the years. But what are some of the other watches that you own and other brands that you admire? You have obviously a unique perspective, and maybe also what Francois Paul likes.
But François Paul doesn't like much. I mean, he respects, right. It's a different thing. He respects the people that are working hard and that really put their guts and their heart into it, and not try to do like a scheme. So he respects work. That's always been his motto. For me, I mean, I have quite a few old Rolexes because I think they're absolutely amazing. I think even Rolex today, for the price, I mean, I've seen the new Explorer, also Perpetual. It's just amazing. It's a great watch, $6,000. I think that's the price. Yeah, brilliant. And it's sold out on top of it. So that's the beauty. So I have also some sentimental watches like Ben & Ross. This kind of thing, because that was part of my history, and also a lot of my dad's watches.
Nice.
And my grandparents. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, we're wrapping up here. We've got a couple of minutes left, and I just want to say, number one, I mean, thank you so much, because we were able to touch on so many topics, Pierre, and I really greatly appreciate the time that you spent with us and how much you shared. And I think if you want to boil this discussion down to one word, I think that word is passion. Focusing on being passionate about what it is that we do, these beautiful horological objects of art that we love, and learning more about them and sharing the camaraderie amongst them. I think that's the most important thing to focus on, especially with a brand like FP Journe.
But I can return that to you, like what you're doing now, and you made an effort to do a long interview. Is it really to help you sell watches? Do you need my help to sell watches? No, and you basically sold out. So it's just to share point of views. And but I'm not crazy about this format. I'd rather do it in person, because then I can see the reaction of people, and people can say, Pierre, I disagree with you. Fantastic. I love when people disagree, because then we have real discussion. Here it's a bit more complicated. But if anyone wants to have more information, I'm more than happy to answer them, or my team, or you can answer most of them. So
absolutely.
But thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you again, Pierre. And anybody who has further questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And if they're specific to Pierre, you can reach out to me. I will get them to him. And this is to be continued. I'm sure we can do this again sometime, and we'll have more stuff to discuss. So thanks again, Pierre, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
See you on the next one.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.